So, hello everyone. My name is Becky with Scott Leroy Marketing, and today we are going to be doing our database overview class. So, we'll be going through your database in Command, how you can use it, how you can import contacts, adding contacts, and really just covering everything within the contacts applet. If you have any questions as we go through, please feel free to drop those in the chat. I'll do my best to get those answered in real time. For the sake of timing, I do generally save those for the very end, as I will have a couple minutes just to make sure I can give you a full thorough answer without having to rush an answer or give an incomplete answer during class. So I want to be able to give you a thorough answer, so I will save those for the end if, for the sake of timing, I need to. So I promise I'm not ignoring you if I don't answer your question right away. I'll just make sure I get to all of the questions at the end, including any I missed throughout. If you're watching this back on recording and you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email. Our email is support@scottleroymarketing.com. I'm going to drop that link in that email address in the chat for everyone here with me live as well. Y'all are also more than welcome to reach out to us at that email should you have any questions or run into any snags. We are always here to help out. Today's class recording will be available on our YouTube channel in about 24 hours. We do aim for same day. However, sometimes with uploading speeds, it can take a little longer than that. I just dropped that link in the chat for you. It's our YouTube channel. We are just Scott Leroy Marketing on YouTube. When you are on our YouTube channel, we do always recommend looking for the most recent videos. Things are always changing both with Command and the services that we offer here at Scott Leroy Marketing. And so we just recommend looking for the most up-to-date information. The easiest way to find those videos is using this videos tab right here. It's going to put all the videos in reverse chronological order. So you'll have the most recent video up at the very top. And then the further down you scroll, the older the video will be. So something to keep in mind. Today's class recording will be up at the very top. We try to also post tech tips every day as well. So depending on what uploads first, it could be the first video or the second or even the third. So kind of just depends on that uploading. But it will be right up here in this top row once it's been uploaded today. So you will see it pop up right up here. Yeah, if you are searching, one last thing on our YouTube channel, if you are searching, we'll use today's class, for example. There we go. And if you are searching, you'll notice that these do not always pull in order. Sometimes you'll have one from 3 years ago up at the top, and then the further down you scroll, you'll see some newer ones in there. So this 1 month ago, I believe, is our most recent one. So we had to scroll down a bit to see that. That is just YouTube's algorithm, how they have it pull in. Not sure fully what causes that, but you may have to scroll a little bit to find the most up-to-date videos when you're searching here. So just pay attention to those dates, that's all. Alrighty, so without further ado, we are going to switch back over to our database overview. Now, we're going to sign in to Command, which is agent.kw.com. We're signed in here with our Command logins. And we're going to actually start over in our contacts applet. So if you're not familiar with the applets menu, which is this left side menu right here, you can click this red square with the white KW in it. It will expand that whole menu. That way you can see the names of all of the different applets without having to hover over all of them. You'll just click that square again and it will minimize the menu. And then if you hover over the icon, then it will tell you what it is. Your contacts applet is going to be this square with the person inside of it. So we're going to go there. And we'll do a quick overview of what we're seeing here, but then we are actually going to circle back to that more thoroughly in a little bit once we import some contacts. But you'll see here that you have your personal account. If you are on a team, you will be able to switch over to your team database. Just click your name in the top right corner. You'll see your team profile right here, so you can switch between the two. So if you are on a team, your team and personal contacts will be separate. So you can switch between the two if you need to up here. We're just going to be looking at personal contacts. They're going to do the same things as your team contacts. So we'll just focus on those for today, especially with this demo account. But yeah, so when you're in here, you have a search bar. You can search for all of your contacts by their name, their email address, their mailing address. You can search by their phone number. So you can just search for any of the data you remember about the contact, and it should populate up here. We have filters and smart views, which I'll explain a little bit better in a couple minutes. And then up at the top, you have the option to, you'll see these three dots. You can export contacts, check for duplicates. And we'll just kind of actually circle back to all of this in a minute. We're actually going to look at importing contacts first, so we can kind of see what that process looks like. So we'll just click this import contacts button right here. And there are two primary ways for importing contacts. One, you can use this command template right here, which is what we would recommend. Or you can upload a custom CSV file. It does have to be CSV file format. CSV just stands for comma separated values, which will make sense when we actually look at the CSV file. We'll explain a little bit more what that means, but it's just the file type is CSV. So you can download this template right here, or you can just upload a custom file, and I'll walk you through the process for both of them. I will say the template is going to be a little bit more work up front when you arrange it into the file. However, it's going to make for a smoother process when you actually import the file, and it's going to make it easier in the long run, and it's a more accurate way to make sure your information is loaded into the correct fields. So that's why we would recommend that, but you can absolutely do a custom import as well. So we're going to start. You can just click download template, and it will download that file for you, and then you can edit that in whatever editor you use, whether it's Excel or something else. I'm going to use Google Sheets for the sake of today's class. It works a little bit better on my personal computer. However, whatever works best for you is going to be perfect. As long as it can edit a CSV file, you should be good to go. Now, when you are looking at the template, it looks like this. I had already downloaded it. When you are looking at this template, you want to make sure that you do not edit either of these first two column headers. So you'll see they already have all of this information filled out. You don't want to edit those at all. Don't move them around. Don't change them. That is what helps the template import correctly. So you'll see all of those headers for pretty much anything you could want in there. And we'll go through it a little more here. So we'll start out, we'll just start filling this out. The only thing that is required for an import is a first name. So you just have to have a name in there. If you only know the contact's last name, there's a couple options. We generally recommend using the word neighbor as a first name, just to kind of fill it in so that you know when you're looking at it that it is not their actual first name. So you can adjust that when you remember their first name or get it. But you don't have to. You can enter just their last name in the first name field. That's up to you, whatever works best for you. I'll show you how to edit contacts later as well. We'll go ahead and we'll start filling this out. I'm actually going to use neighbor here. And then we'll go over here. I'm going to start just filling this out. We'll enter our last name as well. Let's see here. And so you can just kind of keep filling this out. Prefix, suffix, full legal name, about your key dates. So you can enter the birthday and home anniversary in this file. I will say that it doesn't matter the number format you use. If you use dashes, if you use slashes, or whatever number format you use for dates, it will recognize it as a date. As long as it is a normally recognized date format, it should be totally fine to import like that. With phone numbers, it can just be a string of numbers. Again, the number formatting doesn't matter as much as long as it is a 9-digit phone number. Then it should, well, no, 10-digit, sorry. Phone number, I believe it's 10 to 11 because I believe it allows for the +1 in front of it. However, anything longer than that isn't going to be accepted. It will fail to import that. We can go ahead and enter the phone number here. We'll go with, let's enter this. So we can just enter whatever number. This is actually KW's phone number. It seems like a pretty generic one I could grab that would actually work as a normal phone number. If you use a fake number in here and it recognizes it as a fake number, it won't import that. So just wanted to get an actual number to show. Now, when you are filling out phone numbers, one of the phone numbers, because there's options for like 4 different phone numbers to be added. So we can add a cell phone, home phone, work phone, and other phone. So if you have multiple phone numbers, that's great. One of them has to be marked as primary and only one can be marked as primary. So if you have their cell phone and that is their primary number, just go ahead and put a capital Y in the column next to the phone number to mark it as primary. So just a capital Y. You don't have to put anything else, just capital Y. Same for your, if it were the home phone instead or the work phone, anything along those lines. So we've got our phone in there. Next, we have the same thing with our emails. So you can go in and you can add the emails. So personal email, and then you would be able to select whether it's primary, a work email, or a work email, other email. So you can have 3 email addresses on here. And again, one of them does need to be marked as primary and only one. So we'll go ahead and we'll just say, since I have KW's phone number, we'll just do that as well. Just so if it's also, if it is a duplicate contact, if you already have a contact with that phone number or that email marked as the primary. So if it's a duplicate email, I believe if you don't mark it as a primary, it should import just fine. But if it is the primary email on the contact in command, it will not import that as well. Command is automatically going to try to skip duplicates so that you don't have 20 copies of each contact in your database. So we can go through, fill this out with the information through here. And then we can go in, let's see here. Next, we have our address line. So you can fill this out with whatever address you have for them. Just fill it out. Address line 1, city, state, zip. We'll go with. One thing to note about zip codes, if the zip code does start with a 0, so if we were to say, it's just a random number I popped in there, you'll notice that it will take off the 0 automatically. Most spreadsheets will do that. So you just have to adjust your number formatting. If you select the whole column in Google Sheets, it's really easy. I believe it's actually pretty similar for pretty much all of the other spreadsheets you would use. Like Excel is going to be fairly similar. You'll just change the number formatting. So on Google Sheets, it's up here. You'll just click where it says 1, 2, 3. And then you can select a custom number format down at the bottom. And you just have to make sure it has, let's see here, 5 zeros. So you would just enter your number format to have 5 zeros, and you can apply it there, and then it'll add that 0 back on. So if you have the 5-digit zip code, you just need to make sure it includes that 0 at the beginning, if it does have a 0 in the zip code. So we can go over, again, we can mark it as a mailing address. Go ahead and say yes for that. And then your other addresses, if you need to enter those in, you have option for 2 other. And then we'll get over here. I'm going to just kind of scroll so you can see all of the last ones here. So once we get here, we have tags, sources, notes, and then their social media links. So with our tags, sources, and notes, this is where it being in CSV format is important. So any separate entries are just going to be separated with a comma. So for example, with tags, we always recommend when you are doing an import that you include the import date on as a tag. So if we were to say import, and then if we just did 0404, we'll just do 26 there as well. And then we can just create a new tag. You can add as many tags to contacts as you want. So we can just add a comma, and that's going to have us create a whole new tag. If we just did a space, that's going to import as just one big tag. And if we just keep going, and then we'll just say, so if we have these tags here, This is just going to import as one big tag if we do not separate it with commas. Same thing if you were to separate it with periods or slashes or anything like that, it's just going to import as one big tag unless it is separated by a comma. On that note, I see a question in the chat actually about tags. Does it have to exist in the system already, or will it add it when you import? If you do not have the tag in the system, it will just create it as a new tag already. So you don't have to go create the tags individually first. It works just fine to add them here and it will create those tags for you. Yeah, for sure. Same thing with our sources. We can go in and we'll have to separate them with a comma. It's just carrying this over. So if I start typing, you'll see that changing. There we go. So if we had a source, we can enter that in. Again, any sources separated with a comma. Same thing with our notes. You can add as many notes in there as you want. Just make sure they're separated with a comma. And then we can add their social media links on here as well. So we can just go in and add any of their social media links we have. It'll add it to their contacts. I don't have any here. We'll go back over to the beginning, and then you can just kind of go through this with all of your contacts. If you already have contacts in a CSV file and you just want to add it to a spreadsheet, easy way to do that is if you just have it like you have a column with the first name, you just kind of select those, and then you can just copy and paste them in here, and that'll allow you to not have to enter them one by one. Then you can just review it to make sure it added it properly in separate fields there. So you can go ahead, you can add, again, just a first name is the only thing required here. We don't have to fill out, the entire thing, just whatever you have, as long as you have a first name, it will import just fine in there. I'm going to go over, I'm just going to copy and paste these tags down here as well. There we go. So we can make sure we have those tags on our contacts. Again, we recommend adding the import date as a tag. Again, you can add as many tags as you want to a contact. So it's not going to prevent you from adding other tags. The reason we recommend that is when you do an import, if something were to go wrong, you would want to probably find all of the contacts that were imported. For example, if you're filling out this template and you kind of are copying and pasting columns and you accidentally add it to the wrong column, or you shift it down one, and so then it's fully off, you have the wrong numbers or something on your contacts, then it would be easy to just filter by your contact tag that you've created. So those import tags you have, you can just go filter by those. You can archive them and delete them and then re-import. So that'll just allow you to find all of the contacts that were done in this import batch. That way you know and don't have to worry about going through your database individually to find those contacts. So we'll go ahead and then we're going to look at our custom import over here. So again, there are two different options for imports. You can use the KW template, which is recommended. You can also do a custom import here. So you just need to make sure you have column headers here. So we just need to put first name in the first. There we go. And we can do all of the different ones we have. Let's go. We'll go email. So you can just add whatever column headers you have here, and then we'll just start filling it out. You just have to make sure you have the first row is going to have your column headers. And then we can go in and say, then we can add tags here as well. And then email address if you have that. And then you can just go in and fill this out. I do see a question actually about what is the benefit of importing contacts from a sheet versus inputting them directly into command. The benefit of doing it in a sheet is really just going to be importing in bulk. So if you have a lot of contacts, or if you exported contacts from, maybe you just switched CRMs to command, like you came from another brokerage and you had your database, or you have those contacts in your phone and you export them from your phone. And this is just going to allow you to do it in bulk without having to go in and do them individually. That's generally when we would recommend importing contacts. If you just have one or two, it might be easier to just add the contact in command. I just, for the sake of the class timing, I'm not going to fill this out completely. So I'm just doing one or two on each. So once you have your, yeah, of course. So when you have your template filled out completely with whatever tags you want in there, we'll go ahead and add that other tag as well. So you can go in. Once you have those files created, you want to make sure that they're saved as CSV files. If you're in Google Sheets like I am, you can just click File in the top left, and then down below, you're going to click Download, and then you'll just go comma separated values.csv, and it's going to download that right here. So it'll download your import sheet that you have. And then we can go over and do the same thing on our custom. I just want to show you how to import both of those. We'll go with CSV, download, and then we have both of those. So we'll go back over to our command here. Now you can just drag and drop. So if you can click browse right here and search through your files. You can also just drag and drop if you have your file folder open in another screen, or if you just downloaded them like I did, you can just grab them from your downloads up here and just drag and drop it here, and I'll upload it here. So we'll go ahead and click continue. This is what it looks like when you do the template. So again, this has the column headers that KW has created, and you'll see that it actually goes ahead and just assigns all of those columns for you because we didn't mess with the column headers. So you can see it has all of the information in here. So you can just kind of skim through to make sure it looks right. You can review for all of the contacts you're adding. So you can just go through and tab through all of them. And then once you've confirmed that it's all in the right spot, you can just click finalize import. It'll tell you that it's being imported. It can take a few minutes. This is a very small file, so it shouldn't take long at all. But we can go ahead and refresh that. And then we'll get a notification right here. So you got a notification right here that it was successful. So then we would see those contacts in here. So we'll look at those in just a second. Now we'll look at importing our custom file as well. If you just click import contacts, same thing. I'm just going to grab that from my downloads, and then we'll click continue. Now, this is where it can be a little bit complicated with importing a custom file, is then you have to go through and do your column matching, or column mapping rather. So the more columns you have, the more complicated this is going to be. We only have 4, so it's not that complicated. But you'll just go ahead and click the column. So full name, first name, middle name, and you have all of the column types here. So we'll go ahead and just say first name, and we'll do the same thing with our last name. And then the tags, and you'll see that it automatically pulls up like the first contact we have, so you can see a preview of what is actually in that column. And then we can say email. We don't actually have an email on this. Email. So primary email. And then we can go ahead and just click continue, and then it's going to give us the same preview that we had previously with that information. So we'll go ahead and click finalize import. And return to contacts. We can refresh since it's not going to take that long with just one contact. And we'll see again, we have a new notification, and that one was successful as well. So that is how you go through and import contacts. I will go ahead and tell you right now that this is something that we are able to help with at Scott Leroy Marketing. You can send us your file via email, support@scottleroymarketing.com. We can reformat it for you and import it for you. So if you want to import it yourself, but you just want help reformatting your file, we can help with that. But if you want us to reformat and then import, we can do that as well. So if you don't want to have to stress about that, feel free to send it over to us. We will take care of it for you. We can do up to 5 CSV files per agent per month. So feel free to send those over to us. Just wanted to show you how you could do it if you wanted to do it yourself. Next, we'll look at creating contacts individually. So you can just click create contact right here, and you'll enter their full name here. Again, it's the only required field. It's the only one with a red asterisk, is a first name right here. So we can say a certain point, it gets like, how many fake names can I come up with? So we'll go ahead and put that in our full name field. Next, we have this add relationship button. The relationships are going to allow us to go in and link contacts together. So if we have, for example, spouses, we can link the other contact. So we can go ahead and grab one and we can choose what the relationship is: spouse, father, mother, son, daughter, brother, sister, sibling, and so on. So you can select what you want through there. And then you can go down primary email. Again, you can choose personal, work, other, primary phone number, lead source. So your lead source is going to be where that lead came from. So, especially, so a lead is generally considered, so definitions can be a little different for people, but generally a lead is going to be considered as someone that has reached out to you, been referred to you, but they're not really a contact. So you're kind of starting to build that relationship to kind of turn them into a contact. But really is just a lead that you have that you still need to put some work in on turning them into a contact, translating it into actual business. Um, so lead source. So this is where you got that lead from. There are a ton of lead sources in here. You can scroll through and see. KW has a bunch created. I'll show you at the end. We'll go to some of the back end settings and I'll show you where you can add more lead sources. You can go through, you can select the lead source from the list. If you got that lead from a contact, you can select them from the list and then you can mark it as a lead or not a lead. Up to you. We'll go ahead and leave it as a lead. Tags, again, we can add as many as we want in here. Tags are a great way to keep your database separate, so you're able to kind of know what each of the contacts are and be able to just find them easily. Additional contact information, we have those additional emails and phone numbers that we can add, as well as adding their mailing address. And then their social media links here. About, we have their legal information, birthday, home anniversary, relationship. So we can add more relationships to the contacts here. So up at the very top, you'll notice we could only add one relationship. But if we scroll down, we can add even more relationships. So I would generally say that this top one is going to be like the primary relationship, but you just kind of scroll down and you'll be able to add as many relationships as you want. So if you have the whole family in there, you can link them up there so that you have all of them together and you can access them through the contacts. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second here. Company name, job title, and then we also have custom fields. So custom fields are really fun. I really love the custom fields. You can go in and create a field for anything you want. You'll see that we have some created already. Generally, you'll start out with no custom fields. And I'll show you where you can create those and kind of manage the ones that you already have. But we can create custom fields here as well. The same thing with tags. Actually, I meant to tell you that as well. It's kind of like when you're importing them, the tags don't have to exist. So we can just start typing. Let's go here. And then you'll just see this create as new button right here. You can go ahead and choose the tag color and create the tag, and it will automatically go ahead and add it. So you can create the tag individually through here. Same with your custom fields. So we can just click add custom field. You can set some of them as default in those back-end settings we'll look at in a few minutes. And we'll go ahead and click add custom field. Custom fields are great if you have certain things that you want to include, like maybe we want to know their pets' names. So we can go ahead and create this as a new field. So as we learn more about them, their pets, if they have young kids or anything like that, and you want to remember those names, you can just create this as a new custom field. So we can say text field, text area, drop down, date, checkbox number, URL, percentage, or currency. I'll go ahead and leave it as a text field. So you can say pets names or just name, and we can click create custom field. And that's going to allow us to go in and enter that information. So it's great. Some agents like to do pie giveaways, especially around Thanksgiving time. So we created a custom field for favorite pie. Sometimes some agents like to do, a custom closing gift. So they want to have something that they can make it like a basket with their favorite things or something like that. So you can put things that are kind of just personal for them. That way it kind of just feels like more of a personal relationship than just a transaction, which is something that you really always want. You want them to feel like it's a personal connection. So you can go in and create custom fields if there's certain things you want to remember. And then we'll just go ahead and click create here. Once you create the contact, it's going to automatically take you directly into the contact card. You'll see that you have this L right here. That just means they're marked as a lead. If we click mark as lead, it'll take that lead off. But you can scroll through, you'll see all of the information you added here. We can go ahead and click this edit pencil and it will bring us back to the contact like creation that we did. And it'll just allow us to edit there. Speaking of the custom fields, that's a great question in the chat. Is it a universal field or just specific to the contact? When you create the custom field, it will be available for you to use for all of your contacts. So it's not just creating it just for the one. Now, when you are in here in your contact, a couple things you want to look at here. One thing to highlight is this neighborhoods section. So neighborhoods are going to be assigned automatically based off of the address that has been entered in. So if you have a primary address on file for them, it will automatically assign a primary neighborhood. You can go ahead and click add neighborhood and it will allow you to add multiple neighbors or neighborhoods. So we can say, let's go with Orlando here. So we can select the different neighborhoods through here. It'll give us a preview of the neighborhood. We can add multiple neighborhoods. So you'll be able to kind of see that. We can preview it. I'll look at that in a second. Now you'll notice when I do add those neighborhoods, it does not add one as a primary. Again, the primary assigns automatically from the address you have on file, and it will only pull a primary for that. So you can add these additional neighborhoods for neighborhood nurturers and things like that. So you can just go in and add those. You can find more neighborhoods on the map. We'll zoom in. Probably could have just, typed Orlando, but what's the fun in that, I guess. So we'll just go ahead and scroll in, and then we can just grab whatever neighborhoods we want to grab. So map view is a great option if you can't remember the name of the neighborhood off the top of your head. You can just select those neighborhoods through here. We'll go ahead and save, and then you can see they'll pop up here in just a second. There we go. And so you'll see all of those neighborhoods pulling in here, and you'll be able to toggle between the neighborhoods. From each neighborhood, it's going to have a suggested neighborhood that is nearby. So we can go ahead and add Lake Sunset since it populated that. We can add Spring Lake since it populated that. So we can go through and we can just add in those suggested neighborhoods. You just click on it, it will populate to the contact. Now, we can copy the link for a preview of the neighborhood. I'm going to go ahead and say preview so you can see what it looks like. So we'll go ahead and click preview. It'll open it up in a new tab. And it really just creates this like neighborhood overview. So you have your market summary, what locals say, a market snapshot, properties that are available in that neighborhood, nearby schools, transit and commute, nearby neighborhoods, as well as like a map view of the neighborhood where you can see the area. So these are great to be able to share. Now, one thing about this, when you do preview, just click preview here, you're going to see that this is just the KW branding. It is not going to have your specific website branding on it. An easy workaround for that, you can just manually adjust this in the search bar. So just click up here in the search bar and then click right before the kw.com and add your subdomain. So for example, save our scottleroymarketing.kw.com. We'll just add scottleroymarketing before the kw.com and just click enter. And it's going to update it to show it that it's on our website. So then it has our branding, it has our colors and our fonts that we've picked for our website. So you can just kind of preview that and change it over to yours. And then you can just grab that URL from your search bar, and then you can share it with your contacts. So if you want it branded to you, that's a super easy way to find it. Just click preview, and then you can just copy and paste that neighborhood information there. Back over to our contact, I'm going to close that tab out. Scrolling down again, you'll see the additional contact information, and there we go. So then down below in about, you're going to see the relationships. So we added this relationship to our contact. It was an existing contact. So we'll go ahead and click on it. It'll be a blue hyperlink, and it's going to take you over to the existing contact, that new contact card, and you can update that, edit that. We'll go back over to our contact here. So on the right-hand side, kind of cover this left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you'll see a couple things. So your timeline is going to automatically show all of the events you've created with this contact. So you can add events manually if we can add an activity. So we can see the interaction type. Maybe we had a meeting with them. Maybe we sent them a note, sent them mail or something like that. We can go ahead and add interactions here. Now, if you select call, email, or text, just go ahead and know that that is not going to call them, email them, or text them. You're just making a note of an activity that has already happened. There are ways to email and text your database through command. So I just wanted to make sure there wasn't confusion on that. But you can add the activity to your contacts, and it will pop up on the timeline over here. Now you'll see it popped up one for each of the neighborhoods we added. Once you have 5 events on the timeline, it's going to give you an AI summary up at the top. So you can see right here that it gave us an AI summary since we added like 10 different neighborhoods. Not quite 10, but you'll be able to kind of just see a summary through here. And you can filter this timeline by the timing, all of the activity types here. So we can clear them if it's a touch type. So notes, emails, calls, texts, meeting, or mail. We can go ahead and select those, and it will just filter to those different, I click select all again. It would just filter those specific activities. So we can go ahead and select those, and then we can just close out and it'll update. There we go. So we can go over to opportunities right here. I do see a question, is there a way to mass import activity? Currently, there is not, unfortunately. You can add activities one by one, but there's not currently a way to add them in bulk. Next, you can go over to opportunities. This is going to show any opportunities that are currently linked to the contact. So we can create a new opportunity directly through here. I'm not going to go through the whole opportunity for the sake of timing. We cover that in our opportunities overview that I believe we're actually having this Friday if you want to join us for that. Same time, same place. But you can see all of the opportunities that are linked to the contact, as well as creating those opportunities directly through here. Next, we have smart plans. And this will show any smart plans that have been added to our contact, or our contact has been added to, rather. We can add them to new smart plans through here. We can remove them from smart plans they're active on. Now, you will notice that I just created this contact and we already have a smart plan on here, and I didn't add them manually just now. This is actually one of our actually, it's a rule on our smart plan. When you create smart plans, you can have it automatically start a smart plan based off of a contact tag being added to a contact. It won't be retroactive, so it won't add the contacts with the existing tag to that smart plan. And I can show you that, but it can automatically assign the contact to a smart plan just based off of adding tags to them. And I can show you that. We can go over to the smart plans in a minute if you'll need that. So if you want that, just let me know. Under tasks right here, you'll see any that are assigned to our contact. Now this one is going to be pulled directly from the smart plan, but it will show any that are linked through your smart plans, your opportunities, or anything like that. And then you can just mark it as complete. You can see those same tasks over in your tasks applet. So you can view those. Now, notes, we have notes, we can add notes. Again, notes can be imported if we add them to our import file. So you can add notes here. Now, this may be a good option for activity if you're importing contacts. Since it can't pop up in the timeline, you can add notes of the activities here if you just want to have that information. Again, just separate all of your notes with a comma in the CSV file. So that could be a good workaround for that question I got earlier. But we can go ahead, you can add note title and description, and then you can have all of that information in here. And then saved searches, we can create a saved search for our contact. Now, if they create an account on our KW agent site or our consumer app, usually the consumer app, there's a way for them to set up their own saved search on the consumer app, and you would be able to see that saved search pop up here. Otherwise, we'll just click create saved search, and then we can fill out this information with what they're looking for, location, property criteria, amenities, all of that. Once we've filled that out, we'll go ahead and I'll add one here so we can show you what it looks like when we do this. Just go with what we've already done before. Any amenities, we'll go with a pool in that price range, maybe not, but we'll go with that. And then our property type, listing status, any of that we can go in, and then we'll just say next. And then it'll have us create a saved search title. So just the subject line for the emails. And then your primary email, or I guess it's the title of the saved search, sorry. So just, if we have our Orlando with a pool, we can just add that in so we know what the saved search is for. And then primary email. So this is the email they'll want to get these saved searches to. So you'll enter it in here, and then you'll just toggle on send email notifications. And then you can choose the email frequency of how often they'll get updates if anything pops up in their saved search. So it can be instant if anything automatically gets added, or you can just do a weekly summary. Here's the new listings in the area type thing. Once you click create saved search down in the bottom right corner, it's going to send an email to your contact asking them to confirm that they want to be added to this saved search. They'll have to confirm it, and then it will set them up on the saved search. So it'll be pending their approval, then they can, agree to it, and then it should be fine there. So that's how you would set up a saved search for a contact through command. Now we're going to go back out to our contacts, since that really covers that contact card. A couple other things to look at here. One is exporting contacts. So when you are exporting contacts, you can just click these three dots right here and click export all owned contacts. I saw a question about this earlier. So when you do export it, it will be a CSV file. Yes, that is correct. However, for some reason, so if you were to export your contacts from command and want to import them again, for example, if you're exporting them from a team profile and want to import them into a personal profile, or vice versa, you do need to reformat it because for some reason they don't look the same. The template isn't exactly the same. It's very similar, but you just need to reformat it to match the import file for it to import using that file. So just something to note there. It's a little confusing, I know. I'm not really sure why they did that, but anyway, so when you export contacts, it's going to send a email to your KW Communications email, and that you can find. I'll go ahead and show you so that we have all of it together. So if you click your name in the top right corner and click My Profile, once that loads, go over to My KW on the left-hand side, and then you'll see this KW Communications email right here. Just make sure it's an email you have access to, because that's where the link is going to be sent. So we can go back over to our command contacts here. And when we click these back to contacts. When we click these three dots and then we click export all owned contacts, it's going to send a link to our KW Communications email. You have 24 hours to click on the link to download the file. So if for some reason you miss that time window, you can just come click export all owned contacts again and just grab it from your email when it comes through that time. So it can take some time for it to export your contacts. It's not necessarily going to be instant. If you have a couple thousand contacts, it can take some time. So just keep that in mind. Generally for a smaller database, it's going to be pretty fast. when you export those, but it can take a little while to export all of the contacts. You can export them as mailing labels, either CSV or PDF if you want to do that as well. Now, a couple other things with organizing and sorting your contacts. We talked about filters and smart views. So now that we've kind of gone through what you can add to a contact, it should make a little more sense. Another thing I really love about command contacts is the filters. They have filters for pretty much anything and everything you could think of. So you just click filters right here, and then we can filter by the contact type, if they're a contact or a lead, the tags, the lead source, agent site connection. That just means have they created an account on our site or not. Neighborhoods, we can search by any neighborhoods, no neighborhoods, or even specific neighborhoods. And you would just type the neighborhood in here. If they were recently active on our site, when the contact was created, when it was modified. Again, there's just a bazillion different ways you can filter your contacts. So if you're looking for a specific group of contacts, you can find them. I pretty much any way. So there's also advanced filtering. If these aren't enough filters, we have advanced filters. And this one is where we can, for example, say we want, let's see, I'm just looking at this contact in the background up here. We have these two tags on it. So for maybe we want to include all of our contacts that have class demo, which is what we already have, but we want to exclude any contacts that have this class 0309 tag. So we can have, contact with class demo except those ones. We can just add a new filter right here. Just select from here. Again, we have options. We'll just go with tags here, start typing, it'll pop up. And then we'll just choose excludes any. And then we can say 0309, since that's the tag we have here. If you want to exclude multiple, you can exclude those through here, but we'll go ahead and we'll apply that. And then we'll see that contact isn't up at the top anymore. So it removed it from our filtered contacts through here. Now with filtered contacts, we can also create a smart view. And a smart view is basically going to allow you to see the same view again. So when you filter contacts, if you leave your contacts applet and come back, it's not going to be filtered the way it was when you left, unless you create a smart view. It's just going to reset it to the default. So when you come back, it'll be your default smart view, which is usually this all contacts view right here. So we have one that we've created individually. You can go in here, click create smart view, and that'll just create the smart view with whatever filters you have in place. Go ahead and save the smart view here. So we can come back, we'll see it has those two filters. If we add new columns in here, so we can click these columns here. Maybe we want to include one of our custom fields, so maybe we'll include the favorite pie. We can drag that up to the very top. There we go, and we'll see that column pop up here. So you can do that, and we can save the changes. So then if we were to come back to the smart view, so we'll go over here, and we'll notice that it's not, because this is our default smart view. So we'll notice that it's not in the same order, and we have this contact with this tag right here when we excluded them. If we just go to smart view and toggle over to the one we just created, you'll see it keeps our column there. It keeps it filtered exactly how we had it. So that's an easy way to come back and view the same view every single time. You can set it as a default smart view. Just click manage smart views. And we can go in and select, where's the one we just created? There it is. So we can click right here and it will just set it as the default. We'll keep it our default how it was. But we could revert it back to the original all contact smart view. And we can delete any that we've created that we don't want anymore. And then KW has some as well. Leads never contacted, any that don't have neighborhoods, recently active, upcoming birthdays, home anniversaries, who should you call? So you can switch through those. So you can apply them as default, but we'll go ahead and cancel that. Another option here, so you'll kind of just see this in whatever order you have your columns arranged. That is up to you. You can move them around. When you have this, you can select those contacts. So you can just click that square in the top left and it will select all of the contacts there. And then you will see this hidden action menu appear. So this is how we can do some bulk actions. So we can add a tag. So we can tag all of these contacts if we want to. We can add them all to a smart plan right here, right now. We can add a note to each of the contacts. We can send them emails. Now I will note that this send email is not going to it's not going to show all of your contacts, the other contacts emails. If you send a bulk email, it will for their view, it will look like the email is only to them. And if they reply, the reply will only go to you. So it's not going to show anyone's email address to any of your other contacts. I know that's been a concern I've heard before, but it won't do that. So don't worry about that. We can bulk archive the contacts. We can do more options, and we can add activities to multiple contacts at the same time. So that you can do for bulk adding activities to all of these contacts at once. Change the account that they're worked in. So if you're switching to the team account, you can do that. Exporting just the selected contacts, marking them as lead, removing tags, sending a text message if we have Twilio connected, unmarking them as lead. So you have a bunch of options here that you can do in bulk. One other thing I will note on this before we quick look at some back end settings is you can choose how many contacts are shown at a time. This can fall under your smart view as well. You can apply it there. If you click show, and then it'll have however many contacts, it's going to automatically just show however many contacts you have. So it'll up to 25. So usually it's going to be set to only show 25 contacts, I believe, at a time. You can adjust it up to show 500 at a time if you have 500 or more contacts. So that's just going to allow you to see all of those contacts and select all of them at once instead of having to do it in groups of 10, 25, 50, something like that. You can do up to 500 contacts at a time. All right, so one last thing we want to check real quick is our back end command settings we have here. So we're going to go over to our name in the top right corner. We'll click settings. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see command settings and contacts. So we have our contact archive. So anytime we archive contacts, they're going to be moved here. It's kind of like an in-between stage before you can delete them. So it kind of adds a little bit of a checks and balance so that you can grab the contact if you accidentally archive them. You can unarchive them, restore them. We'll go over and grab a contact real quick. So we'll just grab this one. And we can either click on the contact to archive it, or we can do it out there, but we'll go ahead and click archive and archive them. And then we can go over to our archive again. Again, just settings, command settings, contacts, contact archive. And there's that contact. So we can restore them or we can delete it permanently. So when you are importing contacts, if you are trying to create a new contact, like you imported it, for example, if we imported them wrong for some reason, then you can go in and archive those contacts. Before you import the new file, you do have to delete those contacts from your archive. It will not duplicate any contacts in your archive either. So just go ahead and you can delete the contact here. You can restore the contact back. We'll go ahead and say restore on here. Then you can just refresh and it'll disappear. It's currently grayed out since we already restored it. Now our database wipe, you have the option to archive all of your contacts or delete all archived contacts as well. Be very careful with this. If you are bulk archiving and bulk deleting contacts, I would recommend export a copy of your contacts first. It doesn't hurt anything to export your contacts, and it could save you a massive headache later on if you accidentally archived and deleted the wrong contacts and you need something from those contacts. So I would just always recommend exporting a copy of your contacts before you archive and delete. That way you can make sure, especially if you're doing it in bulk, that way you can make sure you don't lose important data that you have. So just something to keep in mind. Contact tags, again, we can go in here and create manual tags. We can create them individually while creating the contacts and when we're importing, but we can also go in and edit and delete. Any that are created by the system cannot be edited or deleted, but any that show is created by you, you can edit or delete. Lead management. So these are some lead conversion rules that allow you to auto tag leads from like your website or something like that, and then automatically assign them to a smart plan or automatically tag them. So you can do that through lead management. Lead sources, we can create new lead sources through here. Now, again, same thing. If they've been created by the system, you can't edit them. But if they've been created by you, I don't know if we have any in here. Let's see here. We scroll through. We probably do somewhere. We can just change how many we're viewing at a time. That would make it easier. But you can scroll through and see any that are created by, there we go. You will be able to be edited or deleted. However, any that are created by the system will be grayed out. Database cleanup, if you need to, if you have any duplicates, you can scan for duplicates. You can either do that in your contact applet. I showed you that right above the export button. So if you check for duplicates, it'll scan your database and then it'll go based off of phone numbers or emails or the contact name. So if you were to merge contacts right here, we can say merge and it will show you. So if it has any active opportunities or smart plans, it's going to have you merge the contact without the smart plan or opportunity into the one that has the smart plan or opportunity. So we can merge them. We can go ahead and say continue. I'm actually going to leave this one as is. So you can go in and merge them, or you can ignore those contacts. You can see merge history. Any that have been merged previously, you'll see pop up here. And then custom fields, again, we can go in and edit any. We can create new custom fields. You can delete any if you have some extras in there and you don't want to use those ones. So you can go ahead and add new custom fields here as well. One last thing, on the left-hand side, you'll see my logs. And under imports, you'll see any import logs. So if our import failed, so we talked earlier about, for example, using a fake number, it won't import any duplicate contacts. So you can see the status when it was completed, how many contacts were imported, how many failed, the number of contacts total. And then you can see, we'll scroll over, there we go. You can see the original file. And then if any did fail, you can also see the error file. So I'm going to actually look at, we'll go with this one right here. Actually, we'll go this one down here. We'll click download and we can go up here to the top, this failed import, and then we'll open it up. This is one from a few weeks ago that we did as a demo, but you can scroll all the way to the far right and it will tell you what the error was. So for example, this one, we already had a contact with that email address on file, so it's not going to create a duplicate there. So it'll give you the error right here if it's an invalid phone number. If it'll just there's several columns here that can all be what the errors are for importing that contact. So if there are any errors, you can easily find out what the error was. So then you can correct it or skip over that contact altogether. You can also see export logs. So you kind of have an idea of when an export was started, completed, and how many contacts you exported and what type of contact it was or anything like that. So that is really all we have for today. We have a couple of minutes for questions. So if y'all have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm going to go through and make sure I got all the questions answered. If you're not sticking around for questions, thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and rest of your week as well.